left by both leaders about the future of the Iran nuclear deal, which faces a May 12th deadline for this president and this administration to decide whether or not to keep the United States inside of that agreement. And the tantalizing hints were the French president said, "We like the deal. I came here to argue for the United States to stay within it, but it's not good enough. There needs to be more. There needs to be a larger negotiation, a new deal," to quote the French president directly, that includes concerns about Iran's ballistic missile technology, its interference in Syria, its support of terrorism in the broader Middle East. And that concept of a new deal negotiated with lots of different regional players suggests that where this may land is that the United States stays within the new deal, but agrees to this broader and more elaborate negotiation over other issues to add to that. President Trump didn't reject any of that language from the French president and said, in fact, the world doesn't know what I'm going to do on May 12th, but Emmanuel Macron, you might know more than anybody. And that is an indication that at least this administration now is open to this concept of staying within the deal, but broadening its aperture, if you will, and adding in some of the issues that President Trump, both as a candidate and now as President of the United States, has consistently argued should have been included in the original negotiation, but were not.
You know, Major, it's interesting when you listen to the Iranians, they've come forward and they don't view Macron as the savior exactly of the Iran nuclear deal. Is there a sense of really where this is headed after hearing this today?
Well, picking up on the question of the Iranian posture, the Iranians are very emphatic. The deal's been negotiated. The deal is the deal. That's it. No new negotiations, no add-ons. We drove a hard bargain. We drove a hard bargain until the 11th hour and 59th minute. We received the concessions we received, not just in cash, but keeping a lot of other side issues out of the equation, and that's where we're going to stay. And the Iranians also know, and this just goes to the tactics of trade and interaction with the European Union, that since the Iran nuclear deal was sealed, trade between the European Union and Iran has dramatically increased, that there's real money on the table for the European Union, and that means France as well as others. And clearly the Iranians believe that's a point of leverage. The Iranians are not interested in having a discussion about Syria or any of their other activities in the region, Yemen, Hezbollah, in Lebanon, or anywhere else. So the Iranians' position is quite clear, and it's going to take some concerted effort by the United States, France, and other interested parties to change their mind about that. So whether or not Emmanuel Macron, the French president, is a savior or not, it appears there is at least a different dialogue going on, and it might preserve some semblance of that underlying arrangement.
You know, Major, I wonder if other countries are going to watch this state visit and try and take notes as to exactly how to deal with the president. We heard Macron. We know trade is a big deal. He spoke with Angela Merkel before coming here. A big deal for Europe. But he made a point of saying that there is no unbalanced trade relationship between the U.S. and France. So do you, I'm told, Major, I unfortunately have to let you go because you're about to be kicked out of the room. So
I am about to be kicked out of the East Room. It belongs to somebody else, you know, so I have to give it up every now and again.
All right, fine. I thought it was for the taxpayers. Let you go, Major Garrett. Thank you for joining us. Well, the hearing for President Trump